I can't believe some of you genuinely think Hawaii is part of the U.S.
Huh?
Telling me an island in the middle of the ocean is part of the United States?
Okay, so even though Hawaii is an island in the middle of the ocean, it is absolutely a part of the United States.
I'm proposing to you, Professor Trust, that in 1990 that cause is irrelevant.
No, the cause is not irrelevant.
You're living on Hawaiian land, Mr. Reese. What are you paying us for it? Nothing. Haoles are living on Hawaiian land. The military is squatting on Hawaiian land. The kind of government that we have is ruining Hawaiian language. That is not irrelevant.
And not only
you need to understand is that, as Malcolm X pointed out, anger against white people is righteous anger.
Right. Well,
It is
Malcolm
not
X believed
racism.
that, I know, but
it's not racism, and so do I, and so do many other people of color.
And not only that, I think, but you've got to look at the circumstances. What Haunani said in her original letter is absolutely true.
that we'd be better off with one less Haole.
No, let me tell you what I'm saying. That all white people living in Hawaii benefit from that historical circumstance now, and that Hawaiians are still being denigrated because of it. And that
Is that true of Japanese living here?
Well, the Japanese have a very different economic situation.
But I mean, are the Japanese living here are the beneficiaries of land stolen from the Hawaiians? Are they not?
Yes, they're
I suppose they
beneficiaries
are.
of
Do you
land
think we'd be
stolen,
better
but
off
they
with
did
one
not.
less Japanese?
No, let me answer your question, Bob, because like so many white people, again, you refuse to look at your own history as being a white person. Japanese people were brought here as laborers. We are not speaking the Japanese language. We are speaking the Haole language. And why is that? Because your ancestors said that we cannot speak Hawaiian. Now, if you don't want to acknowledge that as racism, that's a problem I suggest you get over. But I acknowledge that
I
as
certainly
racism.
do acknowledge
well,
that as
fine.
racism.
Then do you expect people to say, "Oh, thank you so much for banning my language"? You don't think people have a right to resent bad treatment? You don't think they have a right to resent foreigners in their land?
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen.
Right. So in today's episode, Hawaiians are asking tourists, especially American tourists, to respect their culture and also to respect their island, right? Some of them are at loggerheads with Americans and they feel like Americans are insensitive towards their plight.
Right. And in today's video is actually the first time I'm beginning to realize, or I came to realize that Hawaii was part of America because I didn't know.
All right.
And yeah, so today's
That's
gonna be a
actually
bit
fun
of
fact for us.
It's a fun fact for us, and it was annexed back in 1898. Was it?
Right.
It is when it was successfully annexed by America, and this is the same fate that Canada was about to face, and
Almost.
Greenland. If any of you can remember the saga that was going on early this year when Trump was lobbying for the annexation,
However you say that word,
for the
yes.
annexation of Canada and Greenland.
Right, but guys, let's watch this video and then we come back and talk about it. We'll also get to hear from Hawaiians the impact of their country being annexed. And I know a few or a lot of you are gonna be learning some things that you didn't know. We're also going to be hearing from Americans because apparently
There are some Americans, or most Americans, who still don't know that Hawaii is part of America.
Interesting, right? Let's watch and then we
Right.
come back and talk about it. Remember to subscribe. Also, let us know what you think about this episode on the comment section. Let's watch and then we come back.
Hawaii wasn't discovered, it was stolen. And everything you think you know about how it became part of the United States is a lie dressed up in lays and tourism brochures. Let's start with the fact that Hawaii was a sovereign nation. It had a constitution, international treaties, and recognition from world powers.
Today marks 132 years since the United States illegally overthrew the Hawaiian Kingdom. Before the overthrow, the Hawaiian Kingdom was internationally recognized as an independent nation. Hawaii had a thriving economy, global diplomatic relationships, and a literacy rate among the highest in the world. The monarchy promoted education, arts, and cultural preservation. A small group of American businessmen, some of whom were the sons of Christian missionaries who came to Hawaii in the 1820s, sought to control the islands and its resources, particularly for the lucrative sugar industry. These men formed the Committee of Safety to plot the overthrow of the monarchy, and with the support of U.S. Marines, they staged a coup on January 17, 1893, to depose Queen Liliuokalani, betraying the Hawaiian kingdom that they had once pledged to serve, all in pursuit of economic and political power. In 1895, Robert William Kalani'hiapa Wilcox led the Counter-Revolution, a brief armed rebellion to restore the monarchy. Though ultimately suppressed, it marked the last major military attempt for Hawaiians to regain sovereignty. Then, in 1897, over 21,000 Native Hawaiians signed the Ku'e petitions led by Hui Aloha Aina, opposing U.S. annexation. Amongst these signatures were my great-great-grandparents. Despite annexation being forced through later, these efforts show that Native Hawaiians never accepted the overthrow and never wanted to be American. Queen Liliuokalani was imprisoned in her own palace. The Republic of Hawaii was proclaimed on July 4, 1894, a single-party oligarchy. Then Hawaii was illegally annexed into the United States in 1898. In 1896, the Republic of Hawaii passed Act 57, an English-only law which subsequently banned Olelo Hawaii, the Hawaiian language, as the medium of instruction from publicly funded schools. Olelo Hawaii would not be used again in public schools until 1987, 91 years later. Over the past century, Native Hawaiians have faced widespread displacement as their population declined and white American settlers increased. Hawaii was transformed into a tourist destination, erasing much of its cultural identity. Military occupation, environmental destruction, and skyrocketing costs of living have forced many Native Hawaiians into homelessness or out of Hawaii entirely, with most living outside of our ancestral homelands. Despite the devastating consequences of the overthrow, Native Hawaiians have continuously fought to reclaim our identity and sovereignty. The Hawaiian Renaissance of the 1960s and 70s marked a powerful cultural revival with efforts to restore the Hawaiian language and traditional practices. Activists and scholars like George Helm, Kumuhaunani K. Trask, Aho Punana Leo, and Protect Kaho'olawe Ohana were pivotal in these movements, inspiring future generations to protect sacred lands and assert Hawaiian rights. This era reignited the fight for justice and the preservation of Hawaiian culture, laying the foundation for modern sovereignty movements. In 1993, President Bill Clinton signed the Apology Resolution, acknowledging the United States' role in the overthrow and admitted that Native Hawaiians never relinquished our sovereignty. However, the United States continues to occupy Hawaii. A genuine apology requires concrete actions, ending military occupation, returning stolen lands, and supporting Native Hawaiian sovereignty. If you would like to learn more, I recommend these books, Hawaii's Story by Hawaii's Queen and From a Native Daughter. You can watch these videos available on YouTube for free.
50 states last year, these are the top 5 meanest ones. Number 5, Hawaii, kind of a shock.
I'm not sure if anyone told you this, but Hawaii is not a state. It's a sovereign nation illegally occupied by the United States military and government. It's something that we have been protesting for the past 130 years. And ever since the occupation to this day, they have made things worse here. They use parts of our islands for bombing practice, test poisonous chemicals, poison both our fresh water and ocean water, and dry up our islands that would cause year-round brush fires, especially what happened in Lahaina. The economy has gotten worse. The price of housing keeps going up, which has displaced more than half of the Native Hawaiian population out of Hawaii. Tourism has brought so much disrespect and entitlement towards our communities, not to mention fantasizing and sexualizing our native culture. Oh, and by the way, tourism only accounts for 20% of our economy. So for any of you that thinks that Hawaii depends on tourism, it's not true. We actually don't need tourism. We need sustainability on our own lands. But despite all that, we're probably the nicest people you'll ever know. The fact that Hawaii is on your list probably means you did something.
Hawaii is not part of the United States. It's occupied land. They literally, at gunpoint, forced the Queen to sign a treaty. That's not an agreement. That's occupation. That's overthrowing. That's colonization. So baseline, Hawaii, not part of the United States. So you, if you're an American, don't get the right to go. But tourism runs our economy. It helps the natives. First of all, the natives would not be working in the tourist industry if they had a fucking choice. Because rich people keep buying their land and pushing and further marginalizing the people off their own land, creating a reservation system on an island. See, my people, Turtle Islanders, we took up the Americas. The Cree tribe specifically, we had this large piece of land that stretched down into the US. Land that we moved across because we were nomadic. But it was still like where we lived. And now because of treaties and because of colonization, we were forced into these little pockets of land. When before Turtle Island used to be where we lived. The same is happening on Hawaii, except that it's an island, right? So where else are they going to go? In order to stay on their ancestral land, to be able to afford to eat, to pay rent, barely, to stay in their family homes that have been passed down generation to generation, but a rich person is just waiting until they can't pay the rent anymore to buy it from them. I guarantee you that a lot of them hate the tourism industry. Why would they love something that's destroying the Aina, the land that they are so connected to, the land that you are not letting them mourn? Even if you have been there before, I've been there before, and you claim to love Hawaii, then love it by not going to it anymore. Because love means that you care about what's happening there.
I can't believe some of you genuinely think Hawaii is part of the U.S.
Huh?
Telling me an island in the middle of the ocean is part of the United States?
Okay, so even though Hawaii is an island in the middle of the ocean, it is absolutely a part of the United States. Alaska also is not attached to the lower 48, but it's still a state. As a matter of fact, it was made a state August 21st, 1959. Don't you guys have like a big party on July 7th to celebrate your state day or something like that? This is the state flag of Hawaii, because it's a state. But yes, there are 50 states: Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming. 50. Hawaii is number 50. See, 50. United States has 50 states. Hawaii is a state. Hawaii is definitely a state of the United States.
Guys, I don't know how many times I have to say this, but Hawaii is not paradise. We have all sorts of problems here. Look at what all these billionaires are doing, buying up all the land. Look at the situation going on in Red Hill right now. High amount of sex trafficking, rising suicide rate. They're developing all sorts of land and over all sorts of sacred spots from Koloa up to the Mauna. Our people are getting priced out. Families that have been here for generations, if not thousands of years, Kanaka family, Kama'aina family, they're being forced to sell their land, or they're losing it, getting it taken away. They're having to leave and go to the mainland. Over-tourism is a huge problem right now, using up all our resources. Increasing gun violence right now. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So before you say Hawaii is paradise, think again.
So guys, welcome back. You know, this thing people on TikTok always say, I was today years old when I found out this and that. So personally, I'm gonna say I was today years old when I found out that Hawaii is one of America's states. It's actually the 50th state of America. That's a fun fact I learned today. Right? Because long ago, how Hawaii would have been portrayed in the movies, I used to think it is just a holiday destination, of which Hawaiians are asking everybody to stop looking at them only as a holiday destination, because this thing is ruining their state, you know. So I used to think Hawaii was an independent state, like okay, not independent state, like but Jamaica. Just like a country. Jamaica is also under Britain. That's another fun fact, right? Right, guys. So today I was really shocked to know that Hawaiians are also Americans, you know. And one thing that was being discussed today that really got my interest was the discussion amongst the two ladies. One was white, the other one was Hawaiian, and then the host who was white, right? And one thing the Hawaiian told the male host was that not Americans but white people, when they move to a certain area, they refuse to see their own faults when they settle in that area. Rather, they want people to look at other settlers, other people of color, and see their faults, but they're the last to realize their own faults as white people, because in her own opinion, she was saying when white people colonized Hawaii, they were stripped off of their language. And this is not even a shocking surprise, because this is the MO of colonizers, right? Because here in Africa, they did the same thing. And this is why or how we ended up with some African states speaking English, some African states speaking French, some African states speaking Portuguese, and one out of the 54 African states
speak Spanish.
And guys, I feel like this is quite interesting because even if you look at the history of also Black Americans when they were taken as slaves to America, it's the same thing. They were being stripped of their language, their names, you know. So I feel like I do understand why. So I understand that at some point it was quite a big issue because Hawaiians were being taught in their own language, you know. But when the Americans colonized the island, they forbade the language, you know.
Yeah, from being taught as being used as the main language of teaching in Hawaii.
School. So
just like the same way right now, when Trump was canceling not Black history but the Black history or slavery history from being taught in school, what did they use? They said they defund schools that didn't teach the way the government wants them to teach, like the whitewashed version, the lighter version of history, you know. So these people were also being threatened that they'd be defunded and stuff like that.
Right. And guys, I just have one question. Being that Hawaii is part of America, right? And also Puerto Rico, I understand, is also part of America. Are these people being treated the same way as, like, with the same
average
American as an average American? Are they being treated like the normal Americans? Another question I have is, for an indigenous Hawaiian or Puerto Rican, is it easy for them to move into the United States or walk freely into the United States? Like, for example, I live in Kenya, right? In Kenya, we have 47 counties, and it's easy for me to move from one county to another. Like, for example, we live in the capital city, Nairobi. So it's easy for me to move into a different city in Kenya or county, like, for example,
any
Kisumu, Mombasa, without any restrictions.
Right.
So that being said, is it easy for, like, native Hawaiians to go into America, have the same rights, health benefit, like, everything of that nature, you know? Because we also have to remember, another thing that Hawaiians are complaining about is the fact that Americans bought up the best lands
in Hawaii, and then they're just being constricted to pockets in Hawaii.
Right, and also they're accusing Americans of denigrating the Hawaiians.
Of course, yes.
So which is understandable, and that you understand why they're not okay with this, right? So another thing I also took note of is the fact that can we just pause and talk about the Kingdom of Hawaii, how it was when it was it's still under a monarchical system before it
ruled by Hawaiians,
kings and queens, before it was annexed. Let's just talk about that moment in history. There's a lady there who was talking to us about Hawaiian history, and she said there's something she said about their academics, and she said they were amongst the world's top educated, you know, meaning they had a system, they had a way of life, they were okay, you know. That was until missionaries went into Hawaii,
and it's always the missionaries, it's always religion being used, you know,
right?
Because, you know, one thing I came to realize why they use missionaries and why they use religion is because, of course, you can't just go up in arms in another person's country and them not be defensive about it, you know. So the easiest way to gain access to a culture, a people in the community, is by going as, you're posing as someone who's going to help,
leader.
Yes, a spiritual guide who wants to exchange culture and all of that. And once these people learn their weaknesses, the weaknesses in a community, this is how they used to go and colonize. And right now, that type of colonization is happening in a very different way. Take, for instance, West Africa, countries like Mali and Burkina Faso, right? Over the months, this year alone, how many spies have they caught allegedly that are working for France? And these spies, some of them come as journalists, you know, non-threatening roles. Some of them come as priests or as not military but as missionaries, because they can't just come with their big ranks of military and expect these countries not to react immediately.
Right. So after the missionaries came in, now the descendants of missionaries are the ones who came and started staging coups and doing this and that, you know. And I find that is quite an interesting history, because if you look at how they took what they wanted and what was the main cause of them wanting Hawaii, because Hawaii had fertile lands. They wanted the sugarcane business in Hawaii. They wanted to own the good things in Hawaii, you know. And that is why they decided to annex Hawaii, and eventually, they overthrew the monarch patriarchal system imprisoned the queen at the time, right? And then they took over Hawaii. And from that then on, you're seeing the Maureen likes to call it whiteification of Hawaii.
Hawaii is being whiteified from history to the people, because right now, I bet you, even the Hawaiians that live right now, I bet you there are very few who look like the original Hawaiians, but most of them have been whiteified through there is a group that was targeting Africa. They were saying they're gonna wash the blackness out of Africa, and Africans are making it pretty easy, you know. So this is what was happening in Hawaii, you know, and what is also going to be happening in Africa should Africans not open their eyes or wake up early in time.
Right.
But anyway, my biggest question is, will these kind of people manage to whiteify the whole world?
Right.
Because on the other hand, in as much as you're saying Africans are letting this happen, Nigerians are doing the Lord's work. Because Nigerians have managed to crawl even under the unturned rock of India, because Indians are racist and colorist. Yet you find an Indian Nigerian baby somewhere in the mix.
Right.
You find a Korean Nigerian baby somewhere in the mix. You find a Korean Japanese baby. I mean Japanese Nigerian baby somewhere in the mix. So let's see, Nigeria is single-handedly doing the Lord's work for the black nation.
Right. Anyway, that aside, you know, why are we talking about this? I feel like for the countries or states that have something that America is interested in, or the West in particular,
it never ends well for them.
It never ends well for them, because you can look at the people of Hawaii, they're still complaining up to date. And
meaning it is oppressing them to some level, because if America annexing them was a good thing, we wouldn't be hearing them complaining right now. And right now, a few Americans are calling Hawaiians, they're considering Hawaiians people who complain too much. And if you compare this kind of treatment to black Americans, also black Americans are complaining of the very system in America, you know. And usually when they complain, people say they do complain too much, you know. But if something is good for a particular demography of people, you never hear the people complain. So when they do complain, you do know that there's a crack in the system, you know.
Right. So anyway, what I have to say is that I just, when you look at the pattern, I feel like you look at the pattern and you can notice that when history is repeating itself. And there was a time when Donald Trump became the president of America, right? Just earlier this year, when he was talking about the talks of annexing Canada, and Canadians were loud on social media. So at least for today's generation, people can be loud on social media and you can know what the people feel. Because when Hawaii was annexed, the report out there was that they were happy, it's what they wanted.
But that is what they tried to do to Burkina Faso as well, because when they someone from Langley, this black American soldier,
general,
he was saying that the people of the Burkinabe people were complaining. They don't want Traore is imposing his will on them. So for this reason they wanted to arrest Traore. Only for African YouTubers, one to be specific called Wodemaya, to fly into Burkina Faso and bring the opinion of people. And Africa in general banded together to say do not touch, because this is what Africans feel. And I feel like right now, because of social media, it's
easy to hear the real opinion
of people on the ground, the real citizens who are being governed.
Right. But you see, if Hawaiians wanted that for themselves, then you wouldn't find a petition that was signed by a lot of people for it to be even considered a petition, you know. But apparently
and
there was also
a revolution.
It was ignored, and there was also a revolution that came up that tried to take their country back, but it also failed. So all I can say is, for a country to be annexed by America, you have to have something interesting. So for Canada, to you, our audience, whoever has watched to this far, I feel like I want to ask you this question,
What does Canada have that America wants?
What is it that Canada has that is so enticing that America wants? For Greenland, well, it's a bit obvious, but I'll still ask, what is it that Greenland has that is so enticing to America that they want to annex it, you know, because...
And also, to some degree, I do feel like it is a bit unfair to say America, because the common citizen, they just want to live their life in peace with their neighbors. But I do feel like it is the 1%, a few billionaires, right, who are going into these countries with their own interests aligned, and then they're passing it off as if it is a national interest.
Yeah, anyway, it's always the case. But guys, let us know what you think about this episode on the comment section. Also consider subscribing if it's your first time here,
and we'll see you on our next episode.
Guys, thank you so much for your time.